Welcome to the Fitness Queens podcast, empowering your mind and sculpting your body. Join your hosts, multiple fitness world champions, Alicia Kyrios and Stephanie McHugh, as we explore all things female health, training, competing, mindset, and living the fitness life every day.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of We Fitness Queens with my beautiful co-host, Stephanie McHugh. And today we're going to discuss, we thought it would be fun, some of the top mistakes that we see people make and the hurdles that we see clients constantly coming up against, right? Because there will be no doubt several of these for several of you that will feel like oh shit, that's me moment.
Hey, don't worry, been there, done that kind of thing too. So this is exactly. We can speak out of, a little context as we relate. Not only do we have clients doing this, we've personally done these things, maybe at the time of our journey. So we understand where you're coming from, but we want to address them because they may seem simple, but there are also things that we have to check ourselves and make sure that we're not doing.
Yeah. And look, these are more so coming from the places of where people get into that rut of, I'm not seeing a result, nothing's changing, and they're beating themselves up. But it's usually because one of these things is happening. So, we thought we'd tick them off, and then it might just give you a little aha moment or a little like, yep, okay, that's something we need to work on. And look, I think first things first, when you're addressing any of these situations, and it's, even when Steph and I have gone through maybe one, two, maybe more of them at some point in our life, it's just becoming aware of them first and foremost, and then starting to, consciously make choices to move beyond them, right? We just had a bit of a quick banter because as coaches, we see quite a lot of things. But one of probably the biggest things that we've seen, and, I've actually shared this stuff before in my social media, is just general inaccuracy with tracking. So general inaccuracies that might include everything from, liquid calories that they're just not putting in. So, might be having coffee every day with milk. And it's the additional calories.
Or just not weighing, right? Like and I get it. It can be a little tedious at the beginning. It's like, oh, you expect me to have a scale, and actually weigh things out? It's like, that's how you learn what your portion control is. And you understand, your intake, and you actually know when things are maybe too much. And like Ali said, the liquid calories are the most sneaky ones I've noticed. Most people don't realize that they're getting in. How many times have you had a client that is replacing water for like a milk or a juice? Right? Like just meaning, for example,
adding flavoring into water. And that's cool. Like, it's fine. I'd rather people have a flavoring they put into water and actually consume enough water and be hydrated. Hydration is super important. I'd rather that. But you still need to go, okay, I'm going to track those things because they still add up to your totals, right? And again, look, these things don't matter so much if you are in a build phase. These things don't matter so much if you're not, trying to focus on weight loss or tightening up or reducing body fat. But for most people listening, at some point, that's going to be your goal. And these are probably some of the reasons why you're not reaching it. And
sneaky calories.
Exactly. And the other thing is that I think sneaks up on you pretty quickly too. And I'm gonna throw this in there. This is actually personal experience here, right? When I'm in my build phases, I'm gonna be honest, I might track one of my coffees, but I might have a day where I end up having 3, right?
Yeah.
So when I actually start to focus on a cut or tightening shit up, do you know the first thing I do? I literally just cut myself back to 1 coffee a day and it's tracked. And I don't even do anything else to my food straight away. I wait and I see what that does. And in a week, I'm telling you.
You already notice the difference.
I'll drop a little.
Coffees down to 1. But that goes that you're adding milk or you're doing lattes or you're doing some type of other, substance that has some fats or, some extra calories. And that's kind of what I'm referring to. A lot of people don't realize how they're consuming their drinks or how many calories that may have or how many extra carbohydrates that may be within the sugars in that drink. So that alone, or the fats, like if we're talking about milks and almond milk and
Or
you
if
know,
you're
all these,
adding all your syrups, because that's a big thing in the States. I know, not so big here, but a big thing in
yeah,
the States.
simple
You're
syrups,
adding anything on
sugar
top of
free.
it. If you're having a large one versus a small one, that's additional calories. And then like the other thing that I do when I do that, because this is the only change I make for my first week and then I reassess, is I cut out all my sauces. So I don't go adding sauce to any meal. I will add my herbs and my spices and my flavorings in that way, but I just don't add condiments, because you'll be surprised at how
How
quickly
many
your
that has
condiments
calories?
add up, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
100% they do. And so,
The barbecue sauce and
oh,
like the
mate,
heavier, sugar ones.
mate,
Because let me tell you, I'm a sauce gal. Like I always say sauce is boss because it is. I'm like,
sauces boss.
this is like my game. Like you should see my pantry. Like my pantry, all the sauces you could think of, whether it's hot, spicy, sweet, a little tangy, like whatever you think of. I really love sauces, but Allie's right. If
Yeah,
you are struggling with maybe, just dropping a little bit, not just weight, but, reducing body fat levels, you're in a weight loss phase or fat loss phase, it is actually very, very crucial for you to understand where these calories are sneaking in,
yeah,
or how you can maybe cut down your sugars. Because I find
yeah,
that all these sauces that are normally like very tasty are either fat filled or sugar filled. It's
yeah.
not like your, hot sauces that I'm like, okay, when I'm in prep, it's like nothing but a hot sauce game.
Yeah,
Because I'm
because they
like,
got like
every
next to
hot
no
sauce,
calories. Yep, next to no
literally, like
calories.
0 calories to 10 calories. You're like,
Yep.
okay, that's cayenne pepper and water.
But
you know,
too though,
okay.
when you're in that phase, you factor it in, right? So this is the thing. It's you might choose to still be having these things, and that's fine, but you've got to actually track them. You've actually got to weigh them. You've actually got to be across them. So, one of the biggest things I see is that people just have no concept of the little things that add up, and they are missing them. So then what they'll do is they'll be like, but I'm doing everything to the letter and I'm hitting my target. And it's like, yeah, but are you? Because when we factor in that you're having this, this, and this, or you're consuming that, or you've added that sauce, or you've put that on that, that could be enough that it takes you out of the deficit completely, or it reduces the total of the deficit, which then has you losing weight at a slower rate than planned,
And you adapt
and
so much
messes
quicker.
with your head, right? So
Yeah.
that's that side of it, which are the things you might miss that you're doing. But then we look at the things like, okay, for busy mums, this is something I see all the time. They pick at their kids' food, they eat the leftovers, they snack while they make the lunch boxes. Like, people,
Sure, a lot
how
of
are
them
you
are like,
tracking that?
that's me.
How are you tracking that?
Ellie,
You,
that's
you haven't,
me.
yeah, you haven't weighed that shit. You haven't
Mm-mm.
added that to your plan.
Didn't track it.
And so you've eaten all your food, and then you've gone and snacked and
Track the
picked and
goldfish, track the wheat
yeah,
thins, track all those little
yeah,
extra snacks,
all
and
the
you'll
little
just
extras.
start understanding kind of where you're going over. Is it an extra 300 calories? Is it an extra 30,
Yeah,
40 grams of carbs? Like, where is it that you are snacking? That way you're having a much better awareness of where you do need to cut back. Like Allie knew she was having the additional 2, 3
oh
cups of
yeah, 100%.
so she, even though she wasn't tracking them, she knew she was doing it. So if
Yep.
you maybe aren't tracking those snacks or you're not having that, start with tracking it so you know how much you're going
Yeah,
over. Or
yeah,
stop snacking and see where your consumption actually is and see, okay, this is my baseline, this is my intake, this is my everyday intake. And if you're not tracking everything, meaning like you're actually not weighing it out, are you accurately tracking? Because I find so many individuals are like, okay, I did a tablespoon of peanut butter. And this is very common because
oh my god, this is one of the
find
worst.
this the
That's
freaking worst,
the
right? They get the whole,
tablespoon, if it's heaped, is actually like
but it's
2
a heat meal.
servings, not one.
Exactly. So if you do it without taking off the top little mountain of your, like tablespoon, you are actually having 2 tablespoons. This puts you at
It's
like
a
literally
lot more fat.
like
A
250 calories. And you're like, wait, I thought I was supposed to be having like 70 or 80 with the amount that I'm assigning. Like, yeah,
And
you should have out.
then while we're on the topic of that, because this is a prime example too, is cooking with oils, and you're just getting the bottle and you're just whoop, 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 whoop.
Boiling it over, olive oil, coconut oil. And look, I'm guilty of
Mate.
that one. So guilty. So guilty because I mean the peanut butter, I mean, I just know, and don't get me wrong, like I think when you know when it's a trigger for you, like
Yeah,
you're gonna go deep
yeah.
into this freaking peanut butter jar. I don't test myself. I already know this is how much I need to have, that's not my trigger. But man, olive oil, shit. Like I freaking love taste
Yeah.
of olive
Yeah.
oil and the fats. And you know what?
Yeah.
I hate about a lot of the comments that I'll normally tell to myself. I'm like, but it's healthy. How many
The
times?
justification voice for why
Yeah,
it's okay.
that little voice inside your head, but olive oil is healthy. Like, duh, you can have some
Yeah.
more. It doesn't matter. Guys, if you overconsume of any macronutrient, doesn't matter if it's healthy, you're gonna
If you,
still get a surplus, right?
yeah,
You're never gonna get out of
exactly.
that surplus of
Exactly.
that macro. So we need to kind of be a little more aware. Maybe it is half a tablespoon, maybe it's just a tablespoon, learning how to gauge that and really truly staying on the
Yeah.
tablespoon mark or 2 tablespoons will help you a lot. So if you're struggling
Yeah.
with these little small things, your inaccurate tracking is what's actually causing
Yeah.
maybe some of this, gray area for you
Yeah.
that you don't
And I
look
think
at.
if you just listen to this, it's not about even like getting to the point where like not even really big drastic things you got to do straight away. If you literally just go, right, I'm going to track this amount of milk in my coffee. I'm going to track these condiments. I'm going to track, this oil use. I'm going to measure my fats when I'm actually going to put peanut
Yes.
butter or Biscoff or whatever the hell that you're obsessed with
so
into
good.
something. I'm measuring it, right? I'm not just using a teaspoon or a tablespoon. I'm actually going to weigh it. If you do those things alone, I guarantee you'll tighten up and you'll notice the difference. And then if you go that one step further and you physically start pre-planning meals, weighing things properly, and tracking more meticulously, results are guaranteed. So, I would just strongly urge everyone, start to take an honest level of stock. So take your stock take on what you're actually consuming in a day. So don't even change anything, just track it accurately for one day and learn what you're actually consuming, because it'll probably shock you, and then make your adjustments from there. Then make your adjustments from there. One of
I
the
say
biggest
that every
things I
time.
know that people
Yeah.
always get wrong, and it's so interesting because I'm always like, how much do you think that is rice? When people have got
That's a
to
good one.
actually guesstimate rice, the amount of times I've had people say to me, oh, I think that's about 100 grams. Then we weigh it and it's like, whoa,
300.
it's half that. That was 250 grams. Do you know what I mean? Like, and rice is something that's served with so many meal options and in so many,
fried rice. Hey,
correct.
it's not
It's
even
like,
go into the oils, they go inside the rice, they get saturated
correct.
inside of the rice. This is where I find the highest dose. And I'll even put for my Americans here that understand what I mean, Chinese food and Panda Express and fast food that's like practically just oils with the rice, and it's just fried rice. Like, don't get me wrong, like a good fried rice, I'm for it, but these freaking places are like almost tripling just that oil just to put into that rice. And like that calorie over rice and the carb context of a rice is already quite high, even though it's low fat, but now you just double whammied it, added all the freaking oils into it. It's just so much harder
And
on
they
the
usually
digestion.
use like a honey teriyaki or something sauce through the rice too. Like it's just like, oh man, you just get slammed from every direction. So again, I think just be more conscious, more aware, track, get an actual estimate, an actual accurate, assessment of where you're at. And then you can start to estimate what you need to reduce or, maybe make healthier swaps with, and how to approach getting a little bit more accurate in your tracking, because inaccuracies with tracking would have to be the number one, hurdle, challenge, mistake I see clients make. And then moving on from there, what we see is, they put it in
this
what
is
I
kind
call,
of like a double-edged
put it in
sword.
what I call the fuck it bucket, because they go, oh, I'm not losing. And they jump on the scale, and every single day they're assessing themselves. And like, it's just not working. And I'm trying everything. I'm doing all the things. And I'm like, well, no, you're actually not. But secondly, when you go then and do these obsessive scale checks, you will then change behavior and you will go restrict, 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 and then have a big binge day. And we see this happen all the time. So
that's obsession over numbers, obsession over the
correct.
scale. And it actually kind of ties into us telling you to track. And I know those of you that maybe overly track, and I'm going to bring this up because I find it still scale obsession. It is so obsessed on some of the ends. It's on the different spectrum for those that maybe overly track and like just can never
can never
and are literally
relax.
by the gram, and it's like they relapse. Exactly. They have like this little episode of like, oh my God, I freak out. And like you've been doing this so harsh on your mental state that you were thinking that being perfectly tracking and following these macros are going to get you these results, and you're not getting the results. then yeah, you probably need to reassess just your intake and go back into a food diary, and probably intuitively eat. So it's very different on the spectrum. But where Allie is going here, which I completely agree, I watch so many clients obsess on, is like what they weigh, what their scale is like. Are
Exactly.
they
Oh my God.
progressing in their, week to week, or is it there? What's happening? You don't see what's happening because the scale's going up or it's staying the
Yeah.
same. When we see the change and the individual probably is like freaking out, right? I mean, how many times do you see a
Yeah.
client, you're like, they're changing body composition wise, they're improving, their
Yeah.
muscle mass is going up, body fat's going down, but the weight is staying the same. So they get so obsessed and so, like you said, in their head, and they go into this fuck it mentality to where
Yep.
they're giving their towel. They're like, you know what? F it. Nothing's
Yep.
working. So I'm just gonna have whatever, right?
Whatever I
Or
want. I'm gonna get my head in the pantry, my ass up in the air. I'm just gonna go to town. Like, yeah, we see that. We see that. But then also, we see this really crappy situation where it's like the daily fluctuations that are 100% normal, which can come from anything from, a little bit more sodium in food, a little bit more fluid retention, can come from dehydration, can come from hormone surges, can come from a shitty night's sleep, can come because your bowel hasn't evacuated properly in 2 days. It can be post a massive leg session where you've torn the shit out of yourself and you've got inflammatory based responses. Like, all of these variables, all of them can make your weight go up, and dehydration makes it come down. So it's like there are so many things, and it is not body fat, people. You cannot actually physically put on any weight overnight randomly unless you literally went into those all you could eat competitions on some reality television show and shoved a million fucking hot dogs in your face. Like,
Joey Chestnut,
literally,
because he's the
you
champion.
just
Okay, give him some respect, all right?
You just can't. It doesn't happen like that.
That's his name, all right? Don't even tell me how I know this, because I do watch the hot dog eating championship.
You're actually a
on
thing.
ESPN, okay? And you saying that just brought me back to watching the hot dog eating championship this year. No, don't be that person.
It is one of those things where it's like, you just got to get yourself out of that habit of going, well, that's gone up by this overnight, so therefore I'm going to go do this. And it's these really self-destructive internal dialogues where you are beating yourself up, or you're telling yourself how useless you are, or how this doesn't work, that doesn't work, it never works, you're never going to be this, you're never going to be that. It's just, it is a perpetual stir the shit situation, and you'll never get out of it until you stop fixating on this number without at least recognizing the bigger reasons that could be contributing to it. Because once you actually get really real about those things and you can recognize them, you're like, oh, you become detached, and it's not an emotional thing. You actually are quite objective in your ability to be able to go, oh, okay, I know it's this, this, and this. That's cool. Don't worry about it. Tomorrow or within the next 2 days, it's going to drop down again. Or, in the case of trying to build even, you're not making a knee-jerk reaction based off of one incremental movement. You're looking for, say 2 weeks of consecutive data before you make a change. So, I strongly suggest that you do one of two things. You either don't weigh yourself daily, or don't weigh yourself at all. I've been known to throw the scales out of people's homes. Or you are way more aware and objective in your analysis of it, and you stop making it a thing where you go, I'll be happy at this weight, or I must be at this weight, or this weight means this. It's like, no, I'm looking at performance and health and all these other things first. And the scale weight is just a metric to give me a rough guideline of, am I trending in the right direction? But it should not be in any given moment in time. It should be an average across the course of a 7-day period or longer, not just a day-to-day knee-jerk reaction to a day-to-day fluctuation. And my strong advice is stop obsessing over a number in the first place. Like, it doesn't define you. It doesn't define your happiness, and it does not, there is at no point a specific weight that is going to change your level of, contentment or inner peace at all, ever. That comes from a completely different position and place, you know?
And if you're struggling with this, because I'm going to segue that, because I do think that if you are struggling with just a scale, a number, and you're just thinking you're going to be happy, you have to go back to our previous episode where we, actually talk about this in more depth. And it goes through, the weight you think is that you're going to be happy is really
Usually
that
not
you
the
are going to
way.
have to be. Yeah.
Yep,
So
correct. Like
just never expect a number. Don't look at that weight
correct.
number as a
Yeah,
goal.
so
Even.
the body you want usually won't weigh what you think it should. That's the big key take home, 100%, definitely. And look, research shows that the people that are the leanest with the best abs, and when we're at stage level, we're not healthy and we're not usually that happy, and we're usually miserable and taking shit out on everyone. We've got no energy, no libido,
So
like
hangry.
literally,
And we're still not
skinny
good
hair go to
enough, even
crap.
in
Like
that. Yes.
exactly. So it's like,
Which I think is
don't
so important
idolize
for
that.
everyone to listen to here, because you're hearing here how Ali and I are actually opening up and telling you how even at our leanest, even at our best, even when we have won, we still don't feel our best, and that
No,
we
you
could
don't.
always feel like there's something more I could do. I could have been better. I could have actually, got a little leaner or
Yep.
been a little bit bigger, or, like there's always something that you're
Yep.
going to feel you could do more of. So never let that take away from what you've already achieved. What you've achieved is so much, and sometimes we don't give ourselves credit. So if you're looking at yourself as not being ready or not going far enough or not feeling good enough, you just got to reflect and see how far you've already gone. Be proud of that. Don't obsess over the numbers. I think that a number is so irrelevant when it's a feeling, because if we're telling you we didn't even feel our best, we weren't even happy,
No.
when we were at this
No.
stage, why would you expect yourself to be happy when you get to this number?
Exactly. And I think this segues really nicely into our next point, which is actually going to be talking about comparison being the thief of all freaking joy on the planet. But I'm going to talk about two things here, and I'm going to link scale back into it. This is specifically for women that are, sort of slightly older. So the more mature ladies, and as ladies sort of get into their 40s and beyond, goddamn, stop comparing yourself to the 20-year-old version of you, or your 20-year-old daughter or granddaughter or whatever the hell you're looking at, because guess what? You're not supposed to look like that. And reality is at that point in your life, you should be focused on strength and gaining muscle, not shrinking, because shrinking is going to affect your bones, your health, like everything. And at that point in time, you need to be doing as much as you can resistance wise to have quality of life for longer. So I'm going to strongly suggest that anyone that's approaching their 40s, stop thinking about some college-based scale weight you once had, and start thinking about how much kick-ass stuff you can do in the gym and how heavy your weights are getting week to week, because that matters way more. And the more mass you have, the better your composition and the better your shape is going to be anyway. So I always advocate for any woman to focus more on strength and personal, personal empowerment and performance and all of the things that is, going to be way more long-term beneficial to you than worrying about shrinking to fit a scale size. Like, absolutely mental to be doing that.
I couldn't agree with you more, just with the aspect of when you reach, an age, I think that we compare ourselves to just a previous self. So, oh, I did this, when I was a teenager, I did this when I was, in my 20s, or I did this, like, I know I still do, like, man, in high school, I used to be able to do this, and I used to, do that. And it's like, well, yeah, you lived a different lifestyle. You had a different body then, different body composition, and your hormones were very different as well. And I think that a lot of females just kind of don't, they don't realize how much hormonal changes they're undergoing. And being the fact that we do, have such a female client base, right, Ali, we just see so many different women undergo just, let's say, different lifestyle changes within their families, within their jobs, within their activities, and that demand. And really puts them in a situation where they feel like they need to be cutting, they need to be losing weight, they need to be like trying to lose themselves, meaning like lose a half of their body weight or whatever that is, because they're trying to go back to that 20-year-old self or that college self, like you're saying. And I see that more common within women
not,
as they're
right?
hitting their 35, 40, 45 age, and they're having this like midlife crisis, thinking that skinny is going to make them happy, when in reality it's really strength and empowerment and seeing, you know, more muscle mass and being able to break the stereotype of, oh, you're starting too late. I think that's another just conception that so many women have already broken, and they're good leaders in the industry. But you can also be that person, even if you are 40 and you feel like it's too late to start weight training, or it's too late, you know, to even do a competition, to whatever this is that you're, you know, striving to do. Building yourself up is going to be more important than trying to, you know, technically to bring yourself down, whether if that's the weight loss, you need to build up your muscle mass. You're going to feel better. You're going to be a badass 50-year-old, you know, once you get there. And you're going to be leading the way for so many of us that want that example of someone that can, you know, change their ways, no matter how far in life you are. So it's comparison. I want, sometimes comparison can be very unhealthy, but I find that comparison can be very healthy if you look at it the right way. Instead of you just looking at it as a, man, I can't do that, or that girl can do better over there, and you know, she has more, she has a better opportunity, all these things, or you feel like they had a better starting point, or you know, they just are doing more than you and you just don't feel good enough. It's not about comparing yourself to how far they've come, or how maybe short time it took them to do that. It's more about knowing that it's been done. Number one, to me, what excites me and motivates me, it's like there is someone that has done it. There is proof that it can be done.
So therefore, I know I can do it too.
I can do it
by myself.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it takes me twice as long as that individual, but I know it can be done. You know, maybe genetically speaking, that person maybe did have an advantage, but don't let that defeat you. Let that motivate you, because then, you know, even though yours might take a little longer, you're going to keep it. You're going to be able to really embrace those changes. When that person that maybe took half the time or less, you know, sacrifice, doesn't appreciate it. They don't actually value how great their body can respond and act, because then those are the clients, and it's sad to me, because then they're like, well, I didn't have to do all the hard work growing up. I never had to do all these
I hear that all the time.
And I'm
too.
like,
It was so easy when I was young.
You're barely learning that your genes are that good for you. Like, damn, like, I know you had good genes growing up, but God, you didn't have that reality. But imagine if you understood that of yourself and you use that to your advantage, rather than trying to actually say, oh, taking the easy road out. Or in our situation, I have to work a little bit harder, because I've always been that. Even as much people say I have genes, I'm like, actually, guys, I've done a DNA test. My genes are not the most optimal for building muscle. I might have the most optimal maybe for, you know, storing body fat, but that's not anywhere for building muscle mass. I'm like, girls are like, dang, you know, you're storing it in your glutes. I'm like, yeah, but wait for me to cut it back down, guys. It's like the same struggle to, you know, lead it out and kind of gain it there. But gaining muscle mass is really what everyone should be aiming for, no matter how long it takes you, and stop comparing how much muscle someone else has, or how far they are, or maybe their life.
Because you don't even know their journey. You don't know what chapter they're in. You're probably, you know, comparing your chapter 3 to their 45. So, you know, you can't do that. You can't look at anyone else on social media. You can't look at your best mate. You can't look at your daughter. You can't look at anyone else. You've just got to literally compare yourself to yourself from yesterday and keep trying to improve upon that, right? So, and again, I'm going to drive home one more time for all those women that are, you know, getting into their 40s. Stop comparing yourself to 20-year-old you. Just build the new version of you and start now. You know, it doesn't have to be this whole, I want to look how I used to. It's rubbish. Let's stop that mentality. And then moving on to our next challenge or issue, and the thing that we commonly see. Steph, what have we got there for our next one?
Oh man, so hey, how do we deal with stress and how life hits us, right? I think stress management and how we deal with everything that comes at us, whether if it is, you know, your job, or, you know, just your training, and how to deal with people and personalities. And I feel like stress can either kill you, the way you react to it. And truly, I've watched it. I mean, it's kind of sad how it can really bring some people down into a depressing state, or it can actually push them and propel them with good stress, and knowing that stress is good, and how to manage it, how to navigate with people, how to have boundaries, and actually set up yourself with maybe a little bit more of a structure around your day. So organizational skills, and actually trying to find how can you manage not just your stress, but your day, which is going to control your stress. How you intake external stressors that come at you that you can't control. So, you know, reassessment of how you're, you know, maybe analyzing these emotions, or these are things that I have to test myself all the time. I'm like, okay, Steph, take a step back. You know, this is, I've had to do it a lot lately.
Just
take a
don't
breath.
don't punch that person in the face.
Don't punch him in the
Take a
face.
breath.
Yeah.
Just take a breath.
Breathe. You know, bite your tongue a little bit real quick, because you're about to do something that is going to bite you in the ass.
Don't let your foot come out your mouth. Just
And you know what, though? That allows me to then also not let my stress go through the roof, and then start feeling overwhelmed and have this ripple effect of just not feeling in control. Because I feel like the moment that we lose control of just, of course, our setting, our day-to-day structure, we honestly are a chaotic human. We lose, honestly, any sense of positivity in our life. We turn into a negative Nancy. All this comes from stress management, how you perceive stress, how you accept stress, and how you honestly just deal with it, right? How do you overcome it? For me, it's training. I will go and do a session. I will go and, you know, honestly, maybe do even a little bit of stretching, mobility, flow, just because I know that will decompress me. I'll actually be able to kind of like relax and kind of not think of what the hell is happening emotionally, but then I'm actually channeling it through, you know, some physical exertion. So I find even a cardio session, not that I like cardio like that, but I'll take my dog on a walk, on a long walk. I'm not, you guys have heard this a lot. I'm like, yeah, cardio is, it's needed, right? But I don't like to say, oh man, I had the most amazing cardio. Well, I can't say I haven't said that, because I will I will at times actually have a really good cardio session. It's not like I am looking forward to it, maybe until after that endorphin, you know, rush happens, be happy about it. But you know, like Alan, because you guys like going for walks, you know, taking
we love the walks are probably a big thing. And then just downtime with family, I find, is a massive stress reliever for me. Not just the physical pursuit, because physical stuff absolutely can reduce it for me, but I find disengaging, so completely switching my head off and being present in a moment with people that I care about, or in the environment, in nature, that actually has a very calming effect on me. So I like to do, you know, more grounding based activities. So I think we've talked about this on previous episodes, where I'm like, a long weekend away, go to the beach, go to the mountains, hike, you know, just literally spend time disconnected from the things that are impacting me, you know. And I think you're right. I think stress is something that people underestimate. I think stress is something that people, you know, don't manage well. And I think it's something they have issues admitting to feeling. So, you know, I think taking stock of that, being aware of that, and then finding and sourcing strategies that work specifically for you and implementing them is absolutely essential, because until you get stress levels under control, they will control you, and it won't always be in the way that you want, and it can oftentimes lead to really self-destructive behavior and or plateaus in your fat loss journey, if that's what you're on, right? So no, I think it's a really valid point. I think that in the environment we're in at the moment, where women are expected to have it all literally, from, you know, the career to the house to the kids to the, you know, entrepreneurship to the, you know, to the friendships, like they're meant to juggle freaking everything. And I believe we, you know, we can, but we shouldn't be expected to. It should be a choice. But my point being, if you're feeling that pressure from those situations, then I think you need to really stop, sit back, and take your temperature and assess the stress levels, and then have strategies around them. So no, I think that's a great one, Steph. And I think a lot more people listening to this can probably relate to that than, you know, we would imagine.
Well, I think very big hormone, guys, that most people don't realize when it's so elevated. I don't know why I can't sleep. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why I feel anxious. Well, like let's like you said, body temperature, recheck yourself, see what's causing it, the triggers, find a solution, find, you know, some little quick remedies, some natural holistic remedies. I love magnesium for this. It really helps reduce the nervous system, really get it into a nice state, especially in the evening if you're, having those struggles, or even like just rituals, guys, finding ways to be able to curb some of these stressors or some of the things that come at you. You nailed it. You cannot control your stressful life if you allow stress to control you. So just try to manage the best that you can. Stress management, I find, is just an issue with a lot of people when I first start working with them. I'm like, okay, we've got to find out a routine. We got to figure out your, lifestyle habits, and how can we change those to service a more positive environment for this to be managed. So that's one of those. What about you, Allie? What's your your next tip?
I agree. I agree with you completely. And I think, a lot of these things will feed into each other. So you'll start to see where we get this perpetuating, cycle. And a lot of the times these issues won't be isolated. People will feel one thing and it will lead to one thing, and then they're hyper focused and obsessed with one thing, and then they react and they self-destruct. And it's just, for a lot of people listening to this will go, oh, yep, that sounds like me. And yep, I've done that. And so I think it's more about starting to get really honest and real with yourself about each of the things we've discussed, and then looking at how you can start to combat these things, right? So I think they're our top ones. They're the ones we had. They're the ones we come up with. We probably have a whole tent full of other things we can discuss. They were our top ones. And I would love to hear from everyone as to, having listened to this episode, how they felt about these, things we've raised, and whether or not, they've got specific examples they want to share, or whether or not they would love us to cover off a second episode to this where we tap into a few more, because like I said, I got a list as long as my arm of things.
Honestly, we could keep going on and on. Yeah, about these, I guess, things that we see. We work with a lot of clients that struggle with these common things. So which is why we thought these would be, such good ones to cover.
Yeah, exactly. And I really hope that everyone, sort of got something out of this conversation and could recognize some of the things in themselves, because sometimes it's just as simple as becoming aware of it, right? And then you can actually start to address them. But I think for anyone that's listening that has gone, oh my God, I think that's me, or might need to reach out, or, wants to get some help with it, how to find either of us, and we're always here to help. And we'd love to hear feedback. And if you've really found this valuable, or someone that would, please share this episode with them. Give us a review.
Yeah, that's how this world has been really getting shared, and we really notice it. Everyone sharing it across their platforms. So we appreciate it. You listeners are RGs, and to any of the new listeners, thanks for tuning in. We're trying to cover all things health, fitness, wellness.
Absolutely.
Living a nice fit lifestyle and improving yourself every single day. That's what we're chasing. We're all chasing to be our best selves. And if we can service any nice little tip, give you a little, understanding of how to maybe achieve that, because that's what we chase all day, every day, right, Allie? And it's so good to have you in the community. And thanks again for listening in. It was a nice little short, sweet episode for you guys. And now the drum roll for that next special guest. You actually,
next week's episode, we will be welcoming to our platform and on this podcast, Miss Michelle MacDonald.
Michelle MacDonald. Woo! I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, guys. It's in for such a good episode. We're not going to release the topic yet. We've literally got such a special guest. We'll be able to cover so many things. She's such a just great, admirable, inspirational woman. She's doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, with her companies and with Joan, her mom. I'm sure a lot of you have maybe even heard of Train with Joan. She's just such inspiration across the world and doing so many things, as a global influence, because that's what they are. They're really
are. 100%.
Becoming such the big next, 100%. I don't know, duo team. So I love it, guys. And you guys will have them on the, we'll have Michelle on the episode, and we'll be able to pick her brain. So we will be able to get some questions asked for her. So if you guys do, please submit some of those. We'll do a little questionnaire leading into into next episode. So you guys can let us know what you guys want us to ask Michelle as well.
Yay.
So good to see you, babe. Until next time.
Till next week. Bye.
See ya. Bye.